World War I, a conflict that forever changed the long-reigning kingdoms of Europe through revolution, reaction, and reform. The war was a reactionary war that brought about the reformation of the German political and governmental systems and sparked the German Revolution between the Weimar Republic and the leftist Communist League.
(1914), a time of political stress. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of the German allied Austro-Hungarian Empire, and his wife are visiting the Serbian city of Sarajevo. Little did they know this would be their last trip. After multiple failed assassination attempts, the Archduke and his wife were finally killed by a young Serbian man, thus starting the largest conflict that Europe had ever seen.
1 month later, in response to this assassination, the Austro-Hungarian Emperor Franz Joseph declares war on Serbia, longtime protectorate of Russia. This leads to Russia declaring the full mobilization of their armed forces in retaliation to this act of war. In response to this, Germany then mobilizes their military forces and declares war on Russia. As a result of this declaration, the French are thrown into the war because of their alliance with Russia. The British Empire is also taken into the war on Germany because of their treaty with their allies, the French. The imperialistic system of alliances brought these 6 countries to war.
To combat the French, Germany declares war on Belgium to strategically move their forces around France's many borderline forts so they can get a straight shot at Paris to end the French quickly. Using Big Bertha to shatter Belgium's forts, the Germans encountered little resistance while moving through poor little Belgium. After this event, the war raged on between Germany and the other forces in a stalemate until a shift occurred.
The Russian armies suffered heavy losses during the war, with little to no victories. The Russian people blamed the Tsar, and soon word of revolution spread throughout Russia. As a result, Tsar Nicholas II, in an attempt to stop another conflict in his own lands, stepped down on March 12, 1917, to the Duma of Russia, making the government of Russia a republic. But this system was soon taken down by the Bolshevik Revolution, turning Russia into a communist state. With the new government established, the communist leader, Vladimir Lenin, took Russia out of World War I.
Telegram sent by the Germans was intercepted and translated by the British. The telegram was urging Mexico to join the war and attack the U.S. and take back the land that was taken from them during the Mexican-American War. In turn, the U.S. passed the Selective Service Act, empowering the federal government to draft men into the armed forces. On July 3, 1917, the first American troops had landed in France, heading for the trenches.
Once America entered the war, it was over for the Germans. With America's endless supply of troops and equipment, the German army soon crumpled and retreated back to Berlin, to where Kaiser Wilhelm III, on November 9, 1918, abdicates, leaving Germany a republic, and all alone. 2 days later, World War I ends with the surrender of Germany. But the worst blow to the German kingdom was to come, and it would ruin the German people for decades. The Treaty of Versailles.
After the armistice, Germany wrote a new constitution that made the government a constitutional monarchy, much like the British system. But not everyone liked this idea, thus starting the November Revolution. The country was soon divided into 2 political parties, the Independent Social Democrats and the Spartacus League, or more commonly known as the Communist Political Party. 1 month after the new government system was set up, it was quickly torn down and the Weimar Republic, formed by Prince Maximilian of Baden, was put into power. The Communists, led by Rosa Luxemburg, wanted to take down the Republic like the Bolshevik Revolution, just like in Russia, and it worked tirelessly to see their dreams come into fruition.
Throughout the lands of Germany, There was much unrest and discomfort about the new governmental systems trying to take hold, because not all wanted a republic. One example of this was when, after the armistice was signed, naval troops started to act without the authorization of the government. The revolt started with Admiral Franz von Hipper ordering ships to attack the British Royal Navy without authorization of the government. But there were some who did not want this war to start again, so anti-war naval troops sabotaged the rogue ships. The head of the mutineers and 47 other crew members were sent to a military prison. Protesting was held in an attempt to release the prisoners by large numbers of sailors and workers. The protesters were getting out of hand, so the commanding officer of the guards of the prison ordered warning shots. The crowd did not disperse. Shots were then fired directly into the protesters. This led to several people dying and 29 people severely injured. This act inspired a large number of people around the country to stand up in arms against the government. Because of this incident, many people signed up with Rosa Luxemburg's government reform ideas, starting more and more protests around the country.
Berlin, as one man said, was a witch's cauldron, a war zone filled with women and children and fighting men and soldiers killing for a cause of government reform. The leftist communists were fighting the Weimar Republic in the crowded streets of Berlin and all across Germany and her major cities. More and more mutinies happened and more men were put down as a result. On the 15th of January 1919, both Rosa Luxemburg and her co-leader Karl Liebknecht were murdered. On August 11, 1919, the revolution was ended officially with a republic which had a professional army as the victor. Although there were many protests and fights, not that many people died. The exact number killed is not known, but some experts say 100 to 1,000 people died during the entire course of the revolution.
During the revolution, the Allied forces came up with the Treaty of Versailles. The document was signed and was taken into effect on June 28, 1919. The Treaty of Versailles was a crippling agreement that costed the Germans a price that was thought could never be paid. The treaty included a $132 billion price to be paid as reparations to the countries they fought, which roughly sums up to $442 billion today. Because of the massive debt, the Republic had to print off large quantities of money. Because of this, inflation or hyperinflation went rampant on the German mark, ruining the economy for Germany for years. By 1923, a single loaf of bread costed 200 billion marks. $1 was worth 1 trillion German marks at that time. The treaty also crippled the German military force. The German army would be restricted to the banning of weapon imports and exports, banning of manufacturing of machine guns, banning of all aircraft and armored cars and of poison gas, and a maximum limit of 100,000 army troops and 15,000 navalmen. But the biggest loss to the German people is that the country lost around 25,000 square miles of land. That included some of Germany's richest farms and mines.
The Great War was a reactionary war that brought about the reformation of the German political and governmental systems and sparked revolutionary actions within Germany and Russia. Many events occurred between 1914 and 1923, including the Communist Revolution in Russia, the German occupation of Belgium, the Treaty of Versailles, which bestowed harsh punishments upon the German Republic, and the fall of the German monarchy. All of these events led up to the near destruction of the country of Germany.